You can usually tell what kind of INFJ you're dealing with if you pay close attention to the kind of language they use and the kind of responses they give to inputs that you provide them with in conversation, in interaction, even on YouTube. It's often the case that I sort of take note of the way that particular INFJs function, which might be in my own comment section, or it might be in the comment section of other content producers on Reddit, on Quora, or any place where you might run into INFJs. That includes Discord as well, of course. What you will notice is that if let's remember first of all that my most up-to-date classification of INFJs is obviously first mode of being adaptive submissive, second mode of being solipsistic, third mode of being spiritualized, or also called liberated, right? Spiritualized is more accurate, but I think liberated sort of provides a more functional definition that people can understand a bit better without having read my latest book, The Infinite Soul, on the INFJ. Often you'll notice that there are a lot of INFJs who say, life is very difficult as an INFJ. I want to be accepted, or I want to be left alone. So that these are actually two sides of the same coin. We'll see about that in a second. I just want to get on with my life and be left in peace. It's difficult to deal with other people. Now, it's very common to encounter that kind of language, right? I myself, use that kind of language sometimes. This is a reminder of the fact that the adaptive submissive INFJ in us is always lurking around. It's always there. Modes of being are not like neatly classified categories that are kind of black and white, like you can't be one and the other at the same time. Modes of being are to some extent fluid. We oscillate between them. There's definitely a dominant mode. So an INFJ is dominated in their discourse by this kind of language really fits the adaptive submissive profile. They because the interesting thing is, right, that they want to get on with other people, that they're anxious to be accepted by other people. They're willing to, at a conscious level, repress what makes them uniquely who they are, their subjective NI experience, their NI world, to repress it for the sake of getting on with other people, to avoid conflicts and other things. They put compromise over authenticity. And when I say they, I include myself. Okay, I'm not trying to... I include myself at least some of the time. Full self-exploration as an INFJ requires a lot of humility. And humility is part of what can help us move forward in terms of modes of being toward liberation, if that's what we want to aim toward. You might say, but if the anxious, submissive, adaptive-oriented INFJ is so eager to get on with other people, to get along, to be accepted, why would they say, I want to be left alone, or it's hard to get on with other people? Well, again, these are two sides of the same coin. This INFJ is torn, which is why they're often relatively high in neuroticism, and we are high in neuroticism when we are in those modes. It's because at the one and the same time, we need others, we want the approval of others, we want the validation of others, but we also find others where we find out that other people come with a lot of failings, right? And they frustrate us. So we are kind of almost schizophrenically relating to other people that we know they can't really understand us. We never completely forget that. And at the same time, we really need them, right? Someone who says, I want to be left alone, and complains that they can't be, or that they're not left alone enough, or it's hard for them to connect with others, they're not solipsistic INFJs. The real INFJ solipsist is different. Either you will just not interact with them, or within specific kind of elite circles of other INFJ solipsists or INTJ solipsists, because they exist as well. If you kind of become part of their limited kind of private circle, inner circle, or they'll seem quite at peace. Yeah, they will have a discourse that's quite cynical about other people, and that will be very, very imbued with their NI worldview, because that's what solipsists do among INFJs. But they won't be complaining and expressing a lot of frustration with other people, because they've already kind of achieved the living within their own bubble, away from other people. The one who's always complaining that other people are disappointing or that they're not understood, and that, or not spending enough, that other people are not allowing them to spend enough time by themselves. There are people who are still very much enmeshed within the social world that they care about a lot, So be careful. The solipsist is not the person who says this. The solipsist is not necessarily someone who complains. They have a very NI worldview, sometimes to the point of seeming like self-absorbed or lost in their worldview. They're quite confident about it, and they don't complain that often. The liberated INFJ, the spiritualized INFJ, is really, like I like to say in my videos, the better description of this person is that the person engaged on a path towards spiritualization or liberation. It's not something that you achieve. It's not a state that you're in forever, right? This is where the Buddhist influence that may exist on my work reaches its limit. Like the whole idea that you can achieve cessation without remainder, it's not something that actually I believe in. This is part of the existentialist thinker in me. But you can be engaged on a path, you can be progressing towards that path, which is more akin really to Jung's path of individuation. And usually when you interact with this kind of INFJ, well, they engage with others, they're willingly engaging with others, they bring substance, they actually tend to sort of bring a certain kind of positive and warm self-confidence. They don't complain very often, they don't avoid others. So they're not locked in that kind of, if you like, bipolar dialectic between the solipsist and the adaptive submissive. They sort of transcended this relationship with other people toward a position that is more comfortable with their NI world. Since they managed to attain a sense of attunement between their NI world and external reality, they can then harness the vision that comes from their NI world, harness it for the purpose of external reality. And because they have the confidence that comes from this attunement, they can actually be quite influential with other people and find themselves in situations that, if they continue toward a strong path of development in that direction, they can end up being in positions of spiritual leadership. And I mean spiritual in the broad sense. So that's the way that I would describe how these INFJs come across, and how you can pick up signs that an INFJ might be, at that moment anyway, at that moment in time, more in the mode of adaptive submission, solipsism, or spiritualization. If you want to learn more about all of this, don't forget that I've written a book on this topic and more, INFJ Life in the Modern World, The Infinite Soul, where I look at how INFJs can find meaning, purpose, and value in the world that we often find hostile, especially if we're the mode of adaptive submission or even solipsism, right? So this is the book to get. If you have loved the book, if you have got it and loved it and haven't dropped a review yet, please consider dropping a review. It helps with the referencing on Amazon. All the links are below, and the prequel to The Infinite Soul, which you might be familiar with, is The Ecstatic Soul, which looks more, The Infinite Soul is more about the INFJ in interaction with reality. The Ecstatic Soul is more about an analysis of the INFJ mind, INFJ consciousness, and its manifestation in the existential, life of the INFJ. Very in-depth look at INFJ consciousness. You can get it, and don't forget that the lifeblood of my channel is my Patreon page. There's a link below if you would like to consider supporting my work. From anywhere from $3.50 a month, you can really help me keep going with the channel. I can produce more content. You can make suggestions to me directly through Patreon, and we do Jung readings. You get some bonus content as well. It's primarily to support my work and help me keep going. I'm immensely grateful for it, so do consider it. And in the meantime, take care. See you in the next video, guys. Bye bye.